Okay, so here we are with the first setup that we're going to test, just to show you the layout and the settings and let you draw some conclusions initially, I guess. So the base rig, X99 SOC champion, great board, all that, but the chips were terrible to overclock. They're horrible fun. This probably isn't accurate for you. The gigabyte shows the multiplier, but it's not showing that I'm running off the base clock of 125, which you'll see over here. I don't know why it doesn't report it that way. It is its own hardware after all. So, and the voltage required, yeah, good to see. Now, sorry, that chiller keeps cutting in, it's going to be a pain. So, 3070 over here, you can see the clocks. Look, this will do higher, it's just I'm pushing it a bit further than it would normally. This will go up to about 8,000 here, it's only got a squirt more in it. 1624 or some. The boost clock's up to over 2115, 2130 when it's running, and doesn't really come down from. I don't know why I'm getting a water bottle for it. Now that's it there. That's the normal boost clock. That's what I've got it up at, and it'll boost higher than that. There's your memory, 32 gigabytes of DDR4, a bit over 3200 because the base clock thing that I'm doing with the 125 over here. Even when it's running at 4400 off the normal 100 base clock, for some reason the cache and the RAM make up for it, so it actually is a little bit faster this way, but only a little bit. I set the fans at 70%, keeps a good even median temperature, or balance between, and power up at 118 and 89 here for the temp. I don't touch the percentage of the OV there. Anyway, you can see all that. So I'll make note of those numbers for when it goes back over the other board. I'll use exactly the same overclock on the graphics card once it goes over there. So this is only running at a bit under 4.4 on 6 cores and 12 threads, 32 gig of RAM as I've described. Alright, now I'll do the 3D comparison thing last, because I will do it once. I will retest over here in the other board. But so what I'll do now is I'll do the initial testing on X99 with Red Dead Redemption, possibly Boulders, and we'll see where we go from there, see what the thoughts are. Show the frames per second at the end of the benchmark. I'll mention beforehand that the minimum one, like in so many tests and games, is a bit of a furphy. It's kind of when it's starting up and finishing the benchmark, so I'm really only paying attention to the highs and the average, which I will still give kind of 5 to 8 leeway either way, you know. I mean, I'm not fussed if I see the two scores within 10 of each other. It's not going to be showing any massive differences, is it? So let's see. along the river here. See how that feels. Whoa! How does it feel? It's not under my usual settings, but with the settings that it's got, it's as snappy as I'd expect it to be if it was on the other machine, if I'm honest. Yeah. I'm looking over at the card to see the graphics card's running at the max clocks that it can. 2100 to 2115. 63 degrees. Until I get my water bottle. Which I suggest might not help much. Cooling system inside is very good.
Easy. Looks like I need more ammunition.
Well, here's the graphic settings. It's all the NVIDIA standard settings except that tessellation for trees is on, fur quality high, tree quality ultra, yeah. So, yep.
wrong side of the law.
So this is the setup of the 10900K, which runs at a daily of 5.3 with a 4.7 cache under load. I can do that. I've got the voltage up a little bit because just a buffer, and I can. I can have it at 1.3 under load using an LLC 7. Yes, I should point out all the differences because you won't see them on the normal screen unless I do this. Okay, so the memory is XMP of 182222 at 46 at 4600. Obviously I've just pulled that to 18 with a command rate 1 and some substantially tighter secondaries and thirds. Just noticed my RTLs haven't trained up properly down here, so there's it's just to do with it training and booting again. It shouldn't have done that, but yeah, I've got to go and just have a little tap of those to bounce them back into line. It should be running 64, 65, 88 or 64, 87, I think. Anyway, it's no big deal. You won't notice anything in the way of differences unless you're using things like SuperPi and stuff like that. Unless it's really bad RTLs in that it's made them unstable, but it's if they've trained themselves, that's a rarity as opposed to the rule. So it's got more cores. It's running what 900 megahertz faster on all of them. Memory is a lot faster. There's just not as much of it, and it's not in quad channel, it's in dual. Let's go for some results and see where we end up. Okay, so the graphics card is back in the 10900K, and for some reason the 3D Mark compare tool is playing up a bit, showing valid results as not valid results. So side by side, that's a bit hard. Different tabs then, we'll do it that way. So 6800K, the system I was just running on, with the graphics score at 14913. The CPU score is always going to be higher on the 10900K. That's the CPU physics part of the score. So what we want to look at here is how much graphics score, because is the background system, i.e. the 6-core versus the 10-core, affecting the throughput to the graphics card so that it can't operate at its full potential. Well, in this case, I think under Timespy, which is 2K, you're looking at pretty much the same graphics score. There's a lot of difference there. So we'll go to, what was that? That was Timespy. We've got Timespy Extreme on the 10900K, and there we go. So Timespy Extreme on the 6800K, 7,500 on the graphics score. Were we being hampered, and can the throughput be better? No, 7.05. So you can see a little bit of a pattern, much the same thing repeating itself, and that's Timespy Extreme at 4K. Okay, so what else did I do there? I touched by extreme. It's fine. So Port Royal there was as well. We'll go thus. So Port Royal, I haven't run this benchmark as much as the others obviously, so I'm not overly familiar with it, apart from how shiny it is. So 8845 on the graphics score. They don't separate a CPU score here, and I wish I could impart more knowledge, but I can't simply. So take those numbers as you will. 9183 versus 8845. Maybe someone would like to comment in the comments saying something about that as to how that's broken down, or whatever you like. So we'll start with Ultra, I guess. I'm a bit slow today, so bear with me. Did I do Ultra? With the 6800K, I may not have. Okay. It appears I didn't. Oversight. Anyway, it didn't really matter because Firestrike, Ultra, Firestrike, Extreme, blah blah blah. Got Timespy Extreme in there, which is a harder test. So we'll get rid of that epoxy little thing up there, and we'll just put in the normal Firestrike. I know this is a little bit weird here. This was before I put in the 600K, and this is after again. Obviously I had the clocks on the graphics here higher. I haven't checked it, but it's irrelevant. Excuse me. So Firestrike, 36,000 on the graphics score. With the 6800K, 36,000 on the graphics score with the 10900K. So fairly obvious it's not being held back. Now I'll go and do the testing with Red Dead Redemption 2 and a little bit of the gameplay. I will say this, although doing the gameplay and all that was fine on the 6800K, when I went back, and we'll see how the recording comes out as a video at the end, but I go back and look at the recording, and I don't think it was recording it as easily as the 10900K would. So if you're doing other things like streaming or whatever, that maybe need to be factored in here. I was mainly just looking at gaming performance per se, but factor in your extenuating circumstances as well. So I'll come back to you with some RDR2, mate. Alright, well there we go. 70, average 53, minimum FPS 29. So, like I said, there's a bit of variance in this one. Kind of much of a muchness there. Alright, so can I tell the difference between this and the 6 core with 12 threads? So if we run along the river as well, like we did with the other one, change a few camera zooms, and quite frankly it's pretty much the same. It might be not more noticeable when it comes to the actual recording or something or other, but as it stands here at the moment, whee! Thought I'd come a cropper there, but I didn't. Still one of the most fun games to play with, just the physics and the way, you know, you're handled, and just to ride around and buddy on your horse and go do a bit of fishing or something rather is not the worst thing in the world. You spend too much time playing Texas Hold'em poker though. Oops, that's pretty bad. Anyway, you be the judge, tell me what you think. Extreme overclocking Yobbo about to sign out. Gonna do BIOS settings for Apex 12 and 10900K vid. That'll be at 4.3, 4.7 cache as well, and MEMS at 4600. C18 tightened a little. Subs are pretty good. So yeah, do a bit of a like and subscribe and say g'day and make a comment. Tell me you particularly want that 10900K vid and I might do it sooner. But I will get it done because I'm dink. And I'm dink if you're dink. Fair bump, play on. Alright, so to sum up, it was these two processes against each other. I've brought them up under this browser, this user bench layout, just to view them easily. The day I ever use user benchmark to test or measure any piece of equipment ever, just shoot me or send someone to get me, because it's a bit of a joke, this thing. So if you're trying to work out whether you've got a good processor, you know, is it going to be better than another one by what margin and all that, you better have a good read of this, because if you're going to base any of it on you know, value or market share or power draw or whatever, have a read. But you know, I don't know many overclockers or computer people that are going to base their decision based on the power draw, to be honest with you. So yeah, anyway, that's just my little rant. Will it make a difference? Should you upgrade your system if you've got a Broadwell E system, for example, or an 8700 8th gen 8700K system or something like that? Should you upgrade purely for gaming? No. If you want to do other tasks at the same time, streaming, recording your capture or whatever, you may want to consider it. Yep. But for gaming, no, you don't need to. So the only other thing I ask you to take into account is the playing field isn't as level as it was, because you've got the resizable bar feature, which is only available on 10th gen up and 30 series graphics cards. So you know, I'm expecting it to be in some games and whatnot a little bit better, but not across the board. And this is a relatively new thing, so not everyone's necessarily got it. But I don't know. Look, give us your thoughts and feedback. I'd like to get some feedback. Not enough comments. I obviously cover everything so superbly. You don't need to comment afterwards. Yeah. So anyway, that'll do. Extreme overclocking Yobbo signing out. Subscribe, like, and all that fun stuff. And just my advice: stay dink. You've got to stay dink, or you won't know what dink is anymore, will ya?